It continues to amaze me how little focus, money, and effort people put into identity security. We spend money on pen tests. We spend money on, getting ISO certified. We'll do tabletop tests. Everybody's happy to spend money on those things, and they're happy to spend money on tools and protections to test, protect from ransomware and hacking and all of that sort of stuff. When in reality, if we have a look at reported breaches, 60% are reported were based on stolen or compromised credentials in one way or another, right? It was an identity breach that started it. Now that 60%, if we just look at what's been reported, if you listen to other sources that have visibility over breaches that aren't necessarily reported to regulatory bodies, that figure goes between 85 and 90%, right? So it blows my mind when I see organizations, A, not put a lot of focus into it at all, or B, put a lot of focus into making it less secure when it's already there. And sort of let me talk about that for a minute here. One of the big breaches of recent time you will all have probably heard of is the Medibank breach. So let's have a look at that. People should be outraged at this, right? We've had an instance where to make things more convenient for internal staff members, MFA wasn't required on an external VPN. And then a lot of work and effort was put into making sure that if you're on the internal network, you don't need to be quizzed for your credential or your MFA anymore, right? You're trusted. As soon as you get through that VPN, you're trusted. Now, that doesn't just happen. There's actually, sadly, quite a bit of effort and work that goes into making that happen, right? That to apply that implicit trust on the internal network. So as a result of that, Medibank lost 9.7 million customers PII. This is licenses, passports. This is a lot of stuff they lost, but more importantly, 160,000 pieces of health claim data was released. To make something more convenient for an internal staff member, Susan, who is an alcoholic who hasn't had a drop to drink in 10 years, now has to worry if an employer might find out that she's had, she's claimed for mental health sessions to help her with that. Danny, who has a child that had a problem with anxiety, who's put him through some mental health sessions and claimed that back, now has to worry, will that impact his future career choices? What if he wants to join the police force or the military? Is that data going to be out there? And it may be, it may not be, but he doesn't know, right? It should never have happened in the first place. You must invest in strong identity security, right? And here's the best part. There's not even a lot of investment to be made in most cases, right? More often than not, when I see it, it's already there. It's just not been implemented because time and effort hasn't been put into it. It's not even an issue of money a lot of the time, right? You can get very strong security with some of the more basic Microsoft licensing tiers, as an example. So Business Premium, we'll talk about later. We must put more time and effort into that because this is where this all goes wrong. That Medibank, there's lots of reasons if you read the report, lots of controls that weren't there that should have been. But at the end of the day, what that comes back to is that malicious actor one convinced somebody with access to Medibank to give away their credentials.